Today's Chiefs mock draft is presented by Manscaped. Draft month is here. We are in the month of April. It's not April Fool's, even though it is April Fool's Day. Manscaped.com. Manscaped, not April Fool's worthy, by the way. 20% off plus free shipping for all of their awesome men's grooming products. All right, mock draft 2.0, the first mock draft I've done since the Tyreek Hill trade and all these new draft picks became available to Kansas City. Before we start picking players, let's get some background information real quick. Chiefs have 2 picks in the first round now, 29 and 30. 12 picks in total, and let's be honest, this is a huge draft for Brett Veach as he tries to retool this roster and get the depth where he needs it to be. So these are the draft picks following the trade. Like I said, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 2 thirds, 2 fourths. No fifth or sixth, but then you got 4 seventh-round picks. And, hey, it should be a whole lot of fun to see what they do with all of these picks. These are the biggest needs for Kansas City entering this draft as we sit right now. Of course, free agency still ongoing. Edge, cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, tight end. That's kind of where I see some needs to be filled. We'll see what ends up happening during the NFL draft. Now, if you want a Chiefs mock draft with trades, didn't do any trades today, like this video. If you're like, nah, screw trades, then don't like the video. But if we get over 500 likes on today's show, I will cook up a fresh Chiefs mock draft with trades. So if you want one, go ahead and hit that thumbs up icon. And without further ado, let's get into mock draft 2.0. Pick number 29 in round 1, Treylon Burks, the wide receiver out of Arkansas, does a little bit of everything. Good route runner, great size, 6'3", 230, can line up in multiple spots. Kind of a poor man's Deebo Samuel. I wouldn't say has quite the speed, but you can put him at running back, toss him the ball, send him downfield, short passes. He does a little bit of everything. Had a great year for the Razorbacks as he really carried that offense with over 1,100 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns, 17 yards a catch just about. And like I said, was utilized out of the backfield as well. I'll just put it simply, I love Treylon Burks. I think he's one of the best pure offensive weapons over the last couple of years as a prospect. He's dynamic. He can play multiple positions, outside slot, running back, a wildcat quarterback if you want him to. He can do a little bit of everything, and he does it all very, very well. I think if he's there at 29, it would be a home run pick. At number 30, 1 pick later, David Ojabo. Now, there's some buzz that Ojabo could fall to round 2 or 3 with that torn Achilles that he suffered at his pro day. He was a top 20 lock by most accounts before the injury. Now, he could miss the entire 2022 season, I should say. Excuse me on that one. I still think he's a round 1 worthy guy, especially if you're the Chiefs. You pick at 30, right? Like, I think he's worthy of selecting there. Now, he might miss this entire year. You might not have him this year, but I like selecting him in the first round if you're still high on him because you get that 5th-year option for one. So it's kind of like you draft him in the second round. You still get 4 years out of him. You just don't get that initial year. 12 sacks for the Wolverines last year. I think he's got huge upside still. 5 forced fumbles, 3 pass breakups, and he's still learning how to play. I like David Ojabo. Sure, you could get him in round 2 potentially, but he was the best edge on the board, and the Chiefs need pass rushers in a major, major way. Here are some other guys on the board when I made these 2 selections. Zion Johnson out of Boston College. Sam Howell, the quarterback out of North Carolina, was there. Olaseni was there. There's safety out of Georgia. Perrion Winfrey, the Oklahoma defensive tackle. And Jaquan Brisker, the safety out of Penn State. So I've taken an edge, taken a receiver. Obviously, the edge I took may not be available this year. What's the bigger need? Edge, wide receiver? Let us know down in the comments section. Simple EDGE or WR. Get your votes in right now. So since David Ojabo likely can't help you this year, you probably need to draft another edge. So Sam Williams, the defensive line edge kind of hybrid there out of Ole Miss, top 50 talent. Now he's got some off-field and maturity issues. It seems like some of those were handled and worked on this year in 2021, had the best year of his college career. Now, we know with the Chiefs, they're willing to gamble on players with red flags. They traded for Frank Clark, who has a bit of a checkered history. They stood by Tyreek Hill. They did cut Kareem Hunt after his incident, but I think that was more of him lying to the Chiefs. I think had he told them the truth and was upfront with everything, he might still be in Kansas City. But let's be honest, they're a risk-reward type of franchise, and that's what a lot of contending teams do. They take chances, and Sam Williams is a risk, but they need pass rushers. This is similar to Willie Gay a couple of years ago. Risky pick, talented player. I'd say for the most part that's paid off through 2 seasons. I think you could get something similar at a different position out of Sam Williams. And again, you got to get after the quarterback, and he can help you do just that. Some other notable players when I made this selection: Drake Jackson, the edge out of USC; Christian Harris, the Bama linebacker; DeMarvin Leal, the defensive lineman out of Texas A&M; Cincinnati receiver Alec Pierce; and then Carson Strong, the quarterback out of Nevada. Make sure you guys subscribe here to the Chiefs Report as we are getting closer and closer to 28,000 subscribers. Appreciate all the support. Hit that big red button, and let's get there as soon as possible. Jalen Pitre, the defensive back out of Baylor. Probably a safety, but he can give you some nickel play as well. Could play a little corner if you needed him to. Versatile player. Plays with really good instincts, good athleticism. Ran in the 4.4s at his pro day. And like I said, can play some nickel for you. Does a little bit of everything. He can come after the passer. He can cover. Had 19 tackles for loss. Couple of interceptions. 7 pass breakups for the Bears this past season. He was fantastic for Baylor. Good tackler, good cover guy, good instincts. He can match up with slots and tight ends and running backs and all of those sort of things. You need playmakers. You need guys who can create turnovers. Jalen Pitre can do just that. Other players who are available at this selection: Georgia wide receiver George Pickens, Myjai Sanders, the edge out of Cincinnati; Bernard Raymond, Central Michigan offensive lineman; John Mechie, the Alabama receiver; and then Fadarian Mathis, the defensive tackle out of Bama as well. Before we get to our next selection here, thanks to Manscaped for promoting and sponsoring our Chiefs mock draft here. Get 20% off plus free shipping of all of their men's grooming products, including the awesome Lawnmower 4.0. This ball hair trimmer uses advanced skincare technology, so it's going to limit the razor burn, the tugs, the pulls, the cuts, all that stuff is much less likely to happen with Manscaped. So get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com. Promo code CHIEFS. It's going to get you 20% off at checkout. Link in the comments and in the description of this video. Quay Walker, another third-round pick here. Lots of picks here now that they've traded Tyreek Hill, linebacker out of Georgia. Some people like him better than Nakobe Dean. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but if he's here in round 3, it's a steal. Any of those Georgia front 7 kids are fantastic. Speedy guy, can blitz a little bit as well. I think Nick Bolton and Willie Gay is a good dynamic duo, but you add Walker into the mix as a trio there. I think that's good value. This was more of a value selection than a need selection because you have 2 pretty good linebackers, but I think Quay Walker was too good to pass up. All those Georgia dudes are just absolute dogs, really, really good prospects this year. Other players who are available: Nick Bonito, the edge out of Oklahoma; Matthew Butler, the Tennessee defensive tackle; Tyler Algier, the BYU running back; Verone McKinley, safety out of Oregon; and then Georgia linebacker, another one, ironically, Channing Tindall. Cade Otton next up here with my comp pick here in the 3rd round, tight end out of Washington. Has some athletic traits I like. Didn't test at the combine, though, so we're kind of guessing a bit on his athleticism, but I like what I saw on the film. I think he's got more upside than some of the other tight ends in this class. There's a lot of tight ends in this 3rd, 4th, 5th round range. I still think there's questions about the future of this position in Kansas City after Travis Kelce, who's going to be 33 this year. Blake Bell's back on a 1-year deal. Noah Gray, Jody Fortson, some young guys with talent. Fortson recovering from that Achilles tear. But can any of us say with certainty that you've got a future tight end 1 on this roster? I don't think we can. Not saying Cade Otton can be that, but hey, you keep throwing darts, eventually you're going to have that guy who ends up replacing Travis Kelce. Other players that were available here, Butler was still on the board. Justin Ross, who I like, but the spinal injury really concerns me from a couple years ago. Jake Ferguson, the Wisconsin tight end, who's probably more polished right now, but I think Otton's upside is bigger. Damone Clark, and then Bailey Zappi, the quarterback out of Western Kentucky. Who is your favorite player in this year's NFL draft? Treylon Burks is one of mine, which is why I took him out of Arkansas. Name a player or 2 or 3 or 10. Doesn't matter to me. Favorite player in this year's draft. I also like Wan'Dale Robinson. It's kind of like a late third, early day 3 type of receiver out of Kentucky. Really undersized. He's kind of one of those 5'7", 5'8" guys that, is just twitchy, makes people miss out in open space. I think he could have an instant impact on special teams as a returner. He could be a gadget guy for your offense who maybe polishes a little more and becomes a good receiver. I think, look, if Mecole Hardman leaves after next year, maybe this is your Mecole Hardman replacement as he's entering the last year of his rookie contract. Great year for Kentucky last year. Over 100 catches for over 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. The upside is there, and I think that he's got some big playability, both as a special teams guy and as a receiver. Brian Robinson Jr., this is another value pick. You don't really need a running back. You've got 2 good enough ones with Ronald Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Brian Robinson Jr., shifty, physical, doesn't have breakaway speed, but in short yardage, he can help drag defenders. Had 14 touchdowns for Bama. Cool story as he waited 5 years to play. 5th-year senior last year, finally was the bell cow and ran for over 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns, like I mentioned. So I like him as a rotation back, and in round 4, I think the value is good enough. And let's be honest, CEH's future, who knows what it is with Kansas City. All right, so no 5th-round pick, no 6th-round pick. Not going to spend a ton of time on the 7th-round guys, so kind of go rapid fire here. Jermaine Waller, the defensive back out of Virginia Tech, has some athletic traits I like, 6 foot, good size as well. Bamidele Olaseni out of Utah, the offensive lineman. He's 360 pounds, so I think anyone that big, 6'8", 360, I think is his listed, or 350, somewhere in that range. He is massive. I think there's some swing tackle potential there. Jaivon Heiligh, the receiver out of Coastal Carolina, had a pretty good year last year. And then Tayland Humphrey out of Louisiana Lafayette. So grade my mock draft 2.0, A, B, C, D, or F. Thought it fell pretty well for me. Got some good players, but I'm biased. Maybe you disagree. If you do, D or F is fine. I'll give myself in that A or B range.